Thanks for listening to the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, here to help educate, motivate, and put you on the right path to take control of your health through weekly discussions on topics in the medical field, public health arena, and in your community. And now your host, Dr. Barry.
And welcome to another episode of the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Pierre. I'm your host, Dr. Barry Pierre, your favorite board-certified internist, founder of drbarrypierre.com, the CEO of Pierre Medical Consulting, who helps you empower yourself for better health with the #1 podcast for patient advocacy here with the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, bringing you episode 116. And this is going to be a solo episode. And I like to take this episode as the launch episode because over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to be having some amazing guests talk to us about self-awareness, stress relief, what's causing stress in our life, and of course the Lunch and Learn community. I've talked about this ad nauseum. If the mental is not in check, it does not matter what you do with the physical, right? So I want to really bring this next couple of weeks in where we start reflecting on ourselves and start looking at ourselves and seeing, what's causing us problems, what's causing us concerns. And of course, this is actually, depending on when you're listening to this, July is actually Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, right? So of course, why not be self-reflective within Mental Health Awareness Month? If you got any time to be self-reflective, to kind of look at yourself and look at all the stressors that are in front of you, might as well do enjoy. Especially if you're a minority, right? I know I have a lot of non-minorities who listen to the show, but if you're a minority, this is the month to do so. So if you have not had a chance, remember to subscribe to the show. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Hey, you got this amazing podcast I want you to listen to with Dr. Barry. Please do that ASAP. And before I let you go, I want to read off a couple 5-star reviews that I recently got. Like I said, I always encourage you guys not only to subscribe to the show, but also leave me a 5-star review so I know that I'm actually doing a good job. So this review says, everyone should listen to this podcast, relevant information so that you can live a better, healthier, and longer life. Shout out to Nate Henry, number 1. The next one says, very informative, engaging podcast to help everyday people maintain healthy and happy lives. Thank you, Candace. So again, if you have not had a chance, go ahead and subscribe to the show and then leave me an amazing 5-star review like that so I can give you a shout out here on the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. So with all ado, episode 116, let's get ready. We're talking about self and self-awareness and getting ourselves together for the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. This episode is brought to you by the Lunch and Learn Community Store, where we are living out the motto, empower yourself for better health. In the Lunch and Learn Community Store, you can get your favorite t-shirts, ebooks, as well as other related products by Dr. Barry. Head over to shop.drpiersblog.com and get a chance to get 10% off your first purchase by using the coupon code EMPOWER10. Again, shop.drpiersblog.com. Live out the motto, empower yourself for better health. So when we talk about self, right, because I think this is a theme that I really wanted to hit home when I get the chance to kind of think about podcast topics, and I get to ask you guys, what stuff you like to hear. And mental health is always a big one. Self-reflection is always a big one. So I wanted to kind of self-reflect on my own here on the podcast this week, just so we can kind of get an idea of what that means and what's so important about it. As a podcaster, as a physician, as a program director and father and husband and all these different hats that I choose to wear, right? Volunteer to wear, love to wear. It's one of those things where sometimes your life can get so busy that a lot of times you don't even get to really reflect on everything that you do, right? Especially whether it be good or most importantly, whether it be bad, right? Because I think it's one thing to self-reflect and only think about all the good stuff you do. But when you're self-reflecting and you start thinking wow, I could probably do blank better, whatever that blank is for you, I think it really kind of hits home the onus of being, okay with yourself and okay with what you're doing and how you're doing it. So as a physician here, when I think about what we're doing on a day-to-day basis as a hospitalist physician, taking care of patients inside a hospital, the most acute patients, the most sick patients, and doing everything we can to get them better and what that does to a person's psyche, right? I see it all the time. Again, as a program director, I take care of 18 residents who I'm responsible for from the day they set foot to the day they leave right? And sometimes even a little bit after they leave. But most importantly, it's seeing that transition of what it does to a person's mental clarity, right? When they're just the fresh-eyed medical student and they become the fresh-eyed intern. And then they become the hardened senior resident who is off and getting ready to attack the world, right? So I get to see kind of all three of these different levels come to play within my job. And it's one of those things where, as we talk about Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, right, I always question, and a lot of times some of the questions I ask them really isn't about the clinical aspect of what they're doing, but the mental aspect of what they're doing. A lot of one of my favorite attendings, Dr. Canner, would always ask us why. Like, why are you doing what you want to do, right? Like, why do you want to send a patient on this medication home, right? Why do you want to consult this person, right? Like, why are you using this medication versus that medication, right? He was always big on the why, because one, he's an older physician, so he already had, a little bit beef with us younger physicians who he felt did more quote unquote cookbook medicine and didn't really understand why they were doing things, just kind of did it because they read it in a piece of paper and didn't think things through, right? So his big thing was understanding the why process of it all. And honestly, he's probably one of the best physicians and attendings I've ever had in my life, because it's completely changed the trajectory, not only of how I do things, but why I do the things that I do, and then why I do and train my residents, even my medical students, the way I do. Right, because there's always an onus of understanding that when it comes to book smarts, you'll eventually get the book smarts, right? So I can give you plenty of articles to read to get what the information and answer I'm looking for. But if you don't know why you're getting the answer and information I'm looking for, if you don't know why I'm asking the question, that is where the learning problems tend to falter, right? So that's not something that he was big on, right? So he was always big on making sure we understood the why of things and why things tick the way they did. So when we think about self-reflection and self-care, and those are obviously big keywords that you hear a lot now, especially in the mental health space. I always question my physician colleagues how often they're doing this, because I think now one of the biggest pushes that you see, especially in the physician space when it comes to mental health, is the onus of burnout and burning out and essentially being tired of doing what they're doing. And when you think about burnout, you think about like, oh, this is a person who may have been practicing for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and now they're finally tired of doing something. But we see that this burnout process is happening much sooner. Like I got people who aren't even finishing residency and they're already talking like they're tired. When I think about them being tired, right, I always question, is it that you're tired of doing whatever job you're in at this moment, or your expectations of the job that you had when you first started are much different than what they are when you're actually in a job, right? Like, how many of you may have started a job or started a project or started a relationship, right? And when it started, it was looking all good. When it started, everything was clicking. And then something happened in the middle where that clicking didn't happen anymore, right? Like that dissociation of what I thought was going to happen and what's actually happened suddenly got realized. And I think what's happening with physicians is that for us, a lot of us are going into fields and practices with different intentions, right? And a lot of us are going into these organizations or going into these situations thinking that like, oh, it's going to be this way. And then unfortunately at the end, realizing it's a totally different ballgame. And that's why I stress to my residents to understand like, hey, you know what, this is what's your future, right? So I just want to let you know so you can understand to have some outlets. Because as a pre-medical student, especially I'm talking to my pre-medical students right now because they already know, my attendings and my physicians already know. As a pre-medical student, you really don't have too many outlets because you really don't have too much time. Because most of the time you were just spent studying and learning. Again, I remember this is how I remember my birthdays, right? Which is crazy, right? My birthday is in December. So shout out to the Sagittarius. So my birthday is in December. So usually when it was my birthday, there was usually a finals I was having to study around. So when I think about my birthdays, like key birthdays, right? Like 21st birthday, 25th birthday, I always remember studying for a certain final. Like that's how I remember studying for my birthdays, right? It wasn't like, oh, I can't wait till my birthday comes so I can, party and drink or cheaper car insurance. It wasn't nothing like that. It was like, oh, my 21st birthday, here comes organic chemistry. My 25th birthday, okay, here comes, I think it was like anatomy, physics, or biochem. It was some course, right? Like it was some class that I remember having to study for a final for that I couldn't even, like I said, I couldn't even really enjoy the birthday. My birthdays always got celebrated after finals was over because I couldn't do it during the meantime or probably wouldn't have made finals. So it was one of those things that, and I knew that as a pre-medical student, right? So as a pre-medical student, I realized very early that medicine was taking a lot of my time and I didn't like it. And I wish I could say it got better as a medical student. It didn't. As a medical student, you're spending countless you're can ask my wife, you're spending countless hours having to learn. And, you got people telling you that, hey, if you don't do well on this one test, your whole career is going to change. And that I'm kind of referencing the boards, and we could probably talk about boards forever. But here it is, me, a medical student. Again, I'm happy, right? Because I did all that I was supposed to do to get to being a medical student, realizing I still got a lot of work to do because I want to become a resident somewhere, right? I didn't know what profession, but I knew I wanted to become a resident somewhere. So there's another opportunity to just taking my time. And of course, I've always been adept at social media. I always saw my friends lifing, right? This is why I like to call it lifing. My friends were lifing away, on Facebook and on Twitter and all. I could just see them, just life is just happening, and they're having families, and they're taking trips and they're working, right? Again, as a medical student, I didn't work at all, right? So I see all of these lavish things that are happening, and I'm oh, I'm just on the outside, or more figuratively, I was on the inside of a library looking out, wishing I was there. So as I became a resident, I always made it a key point to really kind of take back my time, right? I've talked about this before. One of the biggest transitions that I've made as I became what I think this may even be trademarked by now. Shout out to Dr. Dre, medical mogul, right? One of the transitions I made to becoming a quote unquote medical mogul, like I said, was the fact that I wanted to take back my time, right? I wanted the time that I have been giving away as a pre-medical student, giving away as a medical student, giving away as a resident, right? I wanted to take that back, and I wanted to take it back and do something I wanted to do, not something that I was forced to do, not something that I was scheduled to do. I wanted to do something that I wanted to do. And being a physician, sometimes you get kind of pigeonholed into doing, physician things, right? Going to a clinic or going to a hospital, or you just get kind of pigeonholed to doing those things. But I knew I liked other stuff, right? I've always been a big tech person. If anyone who follows me on Instagram knows, I recently had to switch out my Wi-Fi card and my battery and a couple other things, right? I always liked doing those types of things. So tech and, messing with computers was always something that was very interesting to me, right? It was always something that if this medicine thing don't work, I may fall back on tech. And here I was as a resident, as an attending soon to be, and I'm coming into my own, and I'm becoming a medical mogul, and I'm taking back my time, and I'm all right, what can I do expand myself and get back some of the time I want? Well, I did that, right? I went into the tech, and even now I do a lot of tech related things. If you go to my website, drbarrypierre.com, if you check out my resource page, I do a lot of email related marketing and funnel creations. And again, these are terms that you are probably, unless you're in the know, mean absolutely nothing to you, and that's okay, right? But it was something that I enjoy. I actually love doing it, and I quote unquote do that on the side on top of all of this stuff, right? Again, you're listening to a physician on a podcast, right? That's not actually common, unfortunately, because I feel like a lot of physicians should be podcasting. And just a quick side note, I think a lot of physicians, if they journaled their experiences, probably wouldn't be as burnt out as they are, because I think a lot of times them being burnt out is because they internalize a lot of things. And I'm big on letting people know what's happening. Again, I've been blogging since I was a medical student. I've been letting you know how quote unquote shitty this system it was for a while. So it's not a surprise, right? Some of my gripes with medicine. Love it to death though. Couldn't see myself doing anything else, but there is some issues that need to be corrected. But I feel that if all physicians, right, journaled, right, I feel if all physicians wrote a book, did a podcast, did a blog, something that allowed them to express, what they were thinking at more than anything else, I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. So when I think about this self-reflection where I'm at, right, again, now I'm an attending, now I'm starting to take back my life, and I'm starting to see a different world, right? I'm seeing medicine for what I thought medicine was, right? This engine of education and this vehicle that I could be the quote unquote captain of. And that's why I started doing all of the stuff I do in terms of the blogging and the video blogging and obviously this podcasting, which you're listening to right now. All of it was because now I was happy. And now when I was doing medical stuff, I didn't feel like it was a chore anymore. And right when I had that realization, when I was able to self-reflect and say wow, this is what I should have always been doing, my life has been on cloud nine ever since, right? Again, I joke, but I always laugh that I'm oh my God, I can't believe they still pay me like to come do this thing, because I probably would do it for free. Don't tell them, right? Don't tell my job that, but I probably would do that thing for free, because like I can't believe like they let me in charge of those residents, right? I can't like, and I got some residents who listen to my podcast, so they're gonna have a good laugh at this, right? But I can't believe that I'm the reason why someone's gonna go from a medical student to be a medical resident, right? Like I don't want to say the sole, decision maker, right? But like I got some sway in who becomes a resident at Wellington Regional. And it's such an interesting concept to me, because it was something that I never pictured myself, I guess. I never really pictured myself doing it, at least right now. I figured this was something that I'd probably do when I was old and, kind of tired, and I would just kind of fall back, and then this position will kind of open up for me. But, God said, nah, you need to like do this right now. I need you in this position right now. And, we're going on year 3 right now, right? We're actually going on year 3 of being a program director. And it's been a beautiful sight. And I've met amazing people. I've met amazing pre-meds. I've met amazing medical students. I've met amazing residents, amazing administrators along the way, right? Like all these things that are able to come to fruition because I was able to look into myself and say like, hey, what you're doing right now isn't enough, right? What you're doing right now isn't benefiting enough people. I need you to do more. I need you to step out and do more and like expand. And that's where I think the clarity of my mental health has come in, because I realized at those times, you know what? This is stressing me right now. Like, and the things that are stressing me, I need to do something about it, right? Again, I was an attending physician who was stressed about the way medicine was going. I was stressed about the way the job was treating me. I was stressed about the way it was affecting my family. And I realized I need to do something to make this change, right? Because this was a goal that I've always dreamed of when I was an elementary student. I was in elementary. I was saying I was going to be Dr. Pierre. And here I was Dr. Pierre, and Dr. Pierre was not happy. And I needed to change that ASAP. So that got changed. And once I changed that, once I recognized these are the stressors in my life and I got them out of there, right? The cloud, the black cloud that was around me as a physician went away. And when it went away, it's been nothing but blue skies and, summer rain every now and then. But like, it's been an amazing experience. And this is what I hope to be able to bring to you guys, right? Just a little reflection over this next few weeks of the podcast. I want you to be able to think of these next 3, or I guess next 4, if you include this one. I want you to think about these next 4 podcasts as like a one running show where we're going to be talking about like just stress in general, right? Because stress sucks, right? Let's be honest. Like it sucks when you're stressed, right? Like everything is not peachy keen when you're stressed, right? Like everything is not all good when you're stressed, right? And sometimes some people have like this one thing that's causing them stress, but it's causing them stress repeatedly. Some people have multiple things that are hitting them all at the same time, and that's causing stress, that's causing problems. And then you have others who are like, I don't know what's going on, but I know something like is over me, right? So that's one thing that I really want to like hit home, right? Like we're going to like really talk about stress over the next 3 weeks. And then when we talk about stress, we're going to be talking about what we can do to like heal ourselves. And really, I'm talking to the physicians, right? Like I'm of course, Lunch and Learn community, I got a wide range of people who listen to me. I got some physicians. I got a lot of health practitioners. I got a lot, quote unquote, common people, which when I say common, I really mean just not in the healthcare field, right? But who are interested in wanting to learn more about their health, right? I got a lot of people in different worlds, right? Who like to talk about health, like to listen about health, or maybe just like to listen to me. I don't know, right? You tell me, right? Like somebody fits in some category, right? Where like clearly health is on your mind because there's a million different podcasts you can listen to and you still listening to me, right? So whatever that is, right? Like I want you to grab a hold to that, and I want you to think about what are some of your stressors over this next month, and think about what are you doing to try to break these stressors down, right? Like, what are you doing to try to say, like, I need to get these stressors out of here? And again, physicians, stressors, burnout, we know what happens. We know the end result, right? The end result means less physicians, right? The end result means more physician suicides, right? And this isn't just a physician thing, right? There's a lot of different careers that fit into the same pattern. Someone goes into a career thinking about one thing, they go into a relationship thinking about one thing, and it's a totally different thing once they get there. And then problems arise, right? So we're at the stage, especially especially for a lot of physicians where there's a lot of problems arising because we're realizing this isn't what we signed up for or what we thought we signed up for. Because honestly, it's probably been like that. We just didn't know because physicians before us weren't doing any journaling, they weren't doing any blogging, they weren't doing any podcasting, so they never actually told us, right? Who knows? That's my theory, right? My theory is this medicine thing's probably been sucking for a while, but because the folks ahead of us didn't document anything, we had no clue, right? And now we just kind of walk in here looking crazy, right? But that's a whole nother discussion. So we're going to talk about stress this month. We're going to talk about stress relief this month. We're going to talk about how to be a better you this month. And then most importantly, this is something I love, right? And I can't wait for you to listen to this guest, Dr. Brad, when he comes on. First of all, he's a phenomenal. And if you get a chance, Dr. Brad Ballard, he's like this performance coach, and like he's gonna get us like really hyped. Like I said, I'm excited for the interview, and that interview hasn't even happened yet, right? But I already know it's gonna help energize the lunch community and help them look at themselves and say like, okay, no, I'm worth more than I'm thinking I'm supposed to be worth, right? Because me personally, I think I'm worth a lot, right? Mentally, I think I'm worth a lot, but that's because I got the clarity. Right? I want everyone in the lunch and learn community to get that same clarity that I got. So they're walking around like they don't stink, right? Like that's what I want at the end of this month, right? So if you don't get anything from the end of this month, I want by the time August roll around, I want you to say like, well, you know what? I know some of my stressors in my life. You know what? I know some ways to relieve some of that stress in my life. And you best believe I know what my value is, right? You best believe I know what my worth is, right? So like if you don't get anything, right, I want you to get those 3 to 4 pieces of things from me, and then leave the show and do whatever you want, but don't leave the show until that happens, right? So like I said, I can't wait for you guys to listen to next month. This is going to be a great set of episodes, a great lineup of guests coming up, and you guys have a great and blessed day, and I'm going to see you guys next week. I better see you guys next week. Bye. Thank you for getting to the end of the show. I am your host, Dr. Barry Pierre, host of the Lunch Learn with Dr. Barry, and this is another amazing episode that we like to bring to you week after week on betterment of empowering yourself for better health today. If you have not had a chance, please go ahead and subscribe to the show if this is your first time listening. If you already listen and you've already subscribed, make sure to leave me a 5-star review because your support is absolutely important in keeping the show moving as it is. And if you have not had a chance and you want to check out today's show notes, always head over to lunchlearnpod.com. That is lunchlearnpod, all in one word.com, and you can get the access to my show notes for every single episode, but especially the one you just listened to. And I'm gonna see you guys next week. You guys be blessed. Bye.